again to see so many new faces, so many returning faces, and as an educator to hear people asking, "Oh, where can we find last week's class?" is really reaffirming. So thank you for that. And today's class is going to be on generosity. And what I'm going to ask is, if you have pen and paper, please make sure to have it out for this class, because the terms that we're going to be using are going to sound very similar to each other. And we're going to start with a ranking exercise. And I'm going to share my screen. And basically, there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, a teaching in Pirkei Avos, where they give 4 different philosophies, if you will, for building a society. And the 4 different philosophies, I'm going to say them. I'm going to share the screen, so that way you can follow along. Application, there we go, is as follows. Mine is mine, and yours is mine. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. Mine is yours, and yours is yours. And finally, mine is yours, and yours is mine. I think you can understand now why I recommended the pen and paper. So we're going to go over that one more time. Mine is mine, and yours is mine. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. Mine is yours, and yours is yours. Mine is yours, and yours is mine. If Dr. Seuss had a Pirkei Avot book, this would definitely be in it. So my question is, and I'm going to post this in the chat as well, so that way everyone can have access to the. Oh, it didn't line up so well, but that's okay. Is the Mishnah actually ranks them and says that one of them is what's called Midat Chasidut, is a righteous person. Another one is for sort of the in-between person. Another one is for a wicked person. And another one is for, we'll call it the ignorant person. So I'm curious if you could, we'll take a vote in the chat. Which one of these would you say would be the righteous person? You can write in the chat which one of these, or I would say to hold up your fingers, except there are 62 people on the call, so I can't see all the fingers. So we have so Kathleen's vote was mine is yours and yours is mine, was for the righteous person. Okay, what other votes do we have? Which one of these do we think is for the righteous person? Again, options on the table. Mine is mine and yours is mine. What's mine is mine and what's yours is yours. Mine is yours. Oh, from Bruce, mine is yours and yours is yours. From Cynthia, the last one, mine is yours and yours is mine.
Rebecca says mine is yours and yours is yours. Arthur thinks it's the 4th one, which is mine is yours and yours is mine.
Uh-huh. Okay, so now Andrea said mine is yours and yours is yours. This is so much fun to say. And Rob actually said what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. So from the group, we actually now have votes for 3 of the options, which is very exciting. So I'm curious, for anyone who is on, we'll call it team 4, mine is yours and yours is mine. How would you justify that as the righteous one? How is that indicating the righteous one? If you could write that in the chat. And for anyone who voted for team 3, mine is yours and yours is yours, how would you justify that one? And write that in the chat. Those are the 2 most popular answers. Okay, so Benna said number 4 is the ultimate sharing. Melinda said that number 4 is the sense of reciprocity and community. Everyone supports each other. So Chris says, mine belongs to me and you, but you don't have to do the same. Bruce, I'm willing to share what I have with no expectation of you having to share. Sherry, who voted for number 3, you're willing to give of yourself and what you have without expecting anything back. So Cynthia, who I think was saying what's yours is mine, what's mine is yours, was that generosity is mutually beneficial. Andrea, again, number 3 is the ultimate selflessness. Oh, Jacqueline, interesting. Number 3 can be giving away too much. The man who's going to donate both kidneys. 3 doesn't seem as realistic an option, but 4 indeed is a true form of sharing. Awesome. According, and again, we can, and some of what you're touching on and those tensions are actually brought up in the commentaries. According to the Mishnah, mine is yours and yours is yours, is the pious person. And to the point of it being too selfless, one of the commentators actually says it's only when giving responsibly. That's not about total like self-abnegation and self-sacrifice. That's not about giving too much, but actually about I'm giving, again, without expectation of receiving. And the one that said, just because I purposely mixed up the order, so number 4 was mine is yours and yours is mine, which got some votes. You know what? Let's actually go through the Mishnah. Okay, one that says mine is mine and yours is yours, that's the in-between. That's the Benoni type. What's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, and okay. One that says mine is yours and yours is mine is an unlearned person. Is the way that they phrased it. One that says mine is yours and yours is a pious person. And one that says mine is mine and yours is mine is a wicked person. I don't think we really need to go so much into number 4. I think that one's fairly self-explanatory. But here's the real interesting question. Of the remaining 3, one of them is characterized as midat stom. Stom referencing Sodom and Gomorrah. So we're talking bad stuff here. And I'll give you a hint. It wasn't the wicked one. That was referenced as potentially midat stom. So from your perspective, which one of the remaining options, mine is mine and yours is yours, is option number 1. Option number 2, mine is yours and yours is mine. And option number 3, mine is yours and yours is yours. One of those was defined by the sages as potentially midat stom. So again, the options are number 1, mine is mine and yours is yours. Option number 2, mine is yours and yours is mine. And option number 3, mine is yours and yours is yours. Midat stom, yeah, is a characteristic of stom. So the biblical story was that Lot and his 2 daughters were run out of stom for accepting Abraham as a guest, and the entire city was destroyed. Also known philosophically because of Abraham's arguing with God over the destruction of the city. Okay, I love how we both have a number 2 clearly and I can't decide. And we have a guess for number 3. Okay, so both Andrea and Bruce said, mine is your, so Andrea said, mine is yours and yours is mine. Bruce said, mine is mine and yours is yours. Great. So now that we've restated a couple of options and tensions, why? Justify your position. why would each of those bedrocks of society, if you will, according to you, potentially lead to Sodom, which is pretty much the worst epithet you could give a particular city? And then we'll have our, so from Ben it says, mine, mine, yours, yours, not giving, not sharing. Bruce said a selfish approach, it's separate. Sounds to me like, so Andrea says, sounds to me like mutual stealing. Nancy, it sounds like, is making the opposite argument. Taking care of oneself and one's family is important in Judaism. Wendy's saying, if yours is mine, I can take whatever I want whenever. From Catherine, the unlearned, mine is yours and yours is mine. The good can be perverted. I love these conversations. So I'm going to share my screen for the big reveal. And then we'll go through some of the examples why. So we should be able to see right in the middle of the page. And the, I guess, winner in this case is one that says mine is mine and yours is yours. This is the commonplace type, the Benoni, the average. And some say this is a Sodom type of character, that this is a Midat Sodom. And the question is why? So we're going to scroll to the bottom over here so you can actually follow along. So one commentary is from the Bartanura, because you might ask, well, what's so bad about that philosophy? What's mine is mine, makes sense. What yours is yours, also makes sense. If anything, it is the most logical, and therefore the one that's in the middle. So what the Bartanura explains, which some of you already touched on and alluded to, is that on the basis, that might be what makes the most sense, but if taken to an extreme, what could it lead to? So Bartanura explains that there are some who say this is the temperament of Sodom. The thing is close to coming to the temperament of Sodom, as since he gets accustomed to this, he will not want to give benefit to his fellow, even with something that benefits his fellow, and he does not lose anything as a result. And this was the temperament of Sodom, as they were intending to stop sojourners, travelers from among them, even though the land was broad-shouldered in front of them and it did not lack anything. So the Bartanura seems to be giving this as an example of, yeah, if I were to lose by giving, okay, I can understand that. That'd be a case of what's called in halachic terminology, zeh nehene v'zeh chaser, that this one is benefiting and this one is losing. So why should I lose to benefit somebody else? That's not fair. Okay, I can hear that argument. But if I view it as mine is mine and always mine, and yours is yours and always yours, with that separateness that some of you spoke about, well then what happens if you're in a situation that's called zeh nehene v'zeh lo chaser, that this one's benefiting and I'm not losing anything? Well, by that philosophy, even if, well, what's mine is mine and is always mine, even if I don't lose anything and this other person would benefit from it, and that lack of connection, that separateness, that lack of generosity, the lack of being able to accept, in this case, the traveler, that ultimately is the Midat Sodom. So Benna was asking, as Bartanura began, when taken to an extreme, if any of these are the extreme, they could all be a sense of Midat Sodom. So I'll gonna disagree with that, and I'll explain why. Midat Sodom, in this case, is known for being a certain level of selfishness, of separateness, of not taking care of. So if you take, for instance, what's mine is yours and what's yours is yours, if you take that to the extreme, you might end up with unhealthy martyr-like behavior, but you don't end up with separateness. Maybe you're sacrificing too much and you're not respecting yourself in the process, and that might not be a positive thing. and that's separate from midat stom. Even what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine doesn't lead to separateness. That might lead to the total collapse of individual property, but not to this particular characteristic. And I'll offer now another. Oh, good. The recording from last week is up. Fantastic. If you can manage to listen to this one and watch last week's at the same time, I will be thoroughly impressed. So the Shadal on Vayikra, again, it's not that I'm so fancy, it's that Sefaria has these fantastic options where when you click on a verse, they'll give you all sorts of commentaries. And here, he basically applies the principle of Ahavta l'reacha kamocha. And how would that apply within this particular context? So what's similar, if you go to the middle, which I'm highlighting here, it actually touches on this particular passage. However, that's similar to the trait of a sodomite, what's mine is mine, which is yours and yours, for how can I benefit my fellow without causing myself loss or effort, light or heavy? For there will always be a conflict between my benefit and other people's benefit. And there's no way to give a pruta, which is a small value of money, to my friend without losing a pruta from my pocket. So the Shadal explicitly ties it into the principle of Ahavta l'reacha kamocha, of loving your neighbor as yourself, as one of the ultimate edicts, if you will, of the Torah. And if that's going to be the baseline for society, then again, that separateness can't occur. Because if I truly love my neighbor as myself, then how could I ever say, well, what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours? That might be the intermediate behavior, but ultimately the righteous behavior to aspire to would be what's mine is yours and what's yours is yours. Because what's in my control is my ability to give. What's in my control is my ability to invite in. So I'm not looking to take from you. What's yours is yours. But what I am looking to do is to give. So Sherry's saying, maybe I'm missing something, but how can what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours not be the worst kind of separateness and selfishness? So the one level up from, I guess, up or down, depending on where you're coming at this from, would be what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. So that would be the ultimate level of selfishness, because then everything belongs to me. I don't acknowledge you existing at all. You are there purely for me. So that's the midah of the rasha, of the wicked. What's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. But the in-between and potentially logical one was what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. But that one, in a very subtle way, is actually potentially quite dangerous because of the separateness that it could breed in a society. So ultimately, the righteous society is what's mine is yours and what's yours is yours. And some people have asked already in the chat, well, how does that actually work? Because now I'm just giving everything of myself. And that might be true on an individual level, but what would happen if everybody lived that way? If everybody lived what's mine is yours and what's yours is yours, then that's what actually creates the reciprocity and generosity, because everyone's looking to give and everyone's respecting and acknowledging the other. In the, so from Benna, isn't mine is mine, what's yours is yours, a way of showing respect for each other's belongings? So I think the answer can be yes, and this tension is played out in the Mishnah, because some say that's just average behavior, that's the midah benoni, that's the in-between. And there are others that say, oh, that's actually midat stone. So it's not a clear cut, like this is bad, This is totally average rational behavior with the potential for some tremendously negative ramifications. As opposed to the Russia, which is this is just bad, and as opposed to, in this case, the Chassid of, well, this is good. Now, the only reason why this could potentially fail is what's called in economic terms the tragedy of the commons, which is once everyone starts behaving a certain way, then there's always some smart person who realizes they could take advantage of it for their own good. The classic example is mass transportation. If everyone took mass transportation, then all of our commutes would be a little bit shorter. But once someone realizes they can game the system, their commute is going to be even shorter if they're the one person driving when everyone else is taking mass transportation. What's called the tragedy of the commons, and then everyone reverts back to their individualistic behavior. But at the core, the most generous type of society that can be built, an ideal society can be built, the one that is built on V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, actually would be one where what's mine is yours, and what's yours is yours. It's the purest form of giving. I don't expect anything back. And I want to tie this into Shavuot, which is the holiday that we just celebrated, the receiving of the Torah. And there's a Megillah, I guess a scroll, that we read on Shavuot, which is Ruth. And I wish I had the source saved with me from the source sheet that I read, but you're going to have to trust me on this one. And the questions asked, Ruth equals Ruth, yes. Yay for fun transliterations. The scroll of Ruth, not to be confused with Baby Ruth, which is the chocolate bar of Ruth. Thank you for either groaning or laughing. Nice to know you're paying attention. Rob is so utterly frustrated with me right now. I'm not even a dad and I make dad jokes. I can't help myself. And so one might think that you're receiving Matan Torah. So that's receiving the Torah on Shavuot, also known, since we're now translating, as the Pentecost. And we're receiving the Torah. So you might expect that the Torah, that includes lots of commandments, 613, but who's counting? You might expect that in the scroll, the Megillah, associated with that holiday, that there'd be lots of laws being taught. The reality is there is not a single Jewish law that is extrapolated from the Megillah of Ruth. Not a single one. So the rabbis asked, well, in that case, how come we're teaching this one? Like one would think, this is the holiday where we receive the Torah. This is the holiday where we get the 10 Commandments and the 613 mitzvot. Shouldn't the scroll, the Megillah, have laws that we learn from it also? It seemed to be a parallel. And the rabbis went on to explain that, in fact, the whole message of Ruth, thank you, Wendy, was that exemplifies all sorts of kindness. That specifically, when you look at the way that Ruth treats her mother-in-law, Naomi, and I will go with you wherever you go, I will take care of you wherever you need to be taken care of, that the entire message of Ruth is actually what's called chesed, of loving kindness, of generosity. And how beautiful is it that what we read on Matan Torah, where we read about the reception of the Torah, isn't about here are all the technical laws to follow, but rather how could all of these laws, if you will, actually be an expression of underlying values, of generosity, of kindness, and how in fact can we live that way? And how would society look like if the bedrock, if you will, wasn't the legalistic tick, 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 but actually was chesed, and the laws that we built as a society become an expression of that underlying value. And because we have kept our structures fairly consistent until now, I'd like to continue that, of starting with the value, really exploring in depth, and then leaving with a practical application. I think there are two different directions that we can go in, and again, take whichever one is most productive and meaningful for you in the moment. One would be pick a commandment that you identify with, and how could you perform that through the prism of chesed, of loving kindness? Like, what would, to pick a generic example, how would Shabbat be different if it was fulfilled through the prism of chesed? How would your experience or your fulfillment of that commandment shift? You could pick whichever one is relevant for you. And I'm going to get to your question in a second. I just want to summarize, and then I'll read it in depth. And the other would be, and I think I'm going to say this apolitically, but I do believe all Torah is inherently political in that it stands for something. If we lived a generous life toward others, what would that look like? And I think if you look at that midat benoni of what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, what that leads to potentially in a society of I have my problems, you have your problems, I have my needs, you have your needs, I have who I need to take care of, you have who you need to take care of. How would that shift if we approached on a societal lens, what's mine is yours, and I'm here to take care of you, and what's yours is yours, and you also get to take care of you. And I think either of those lenses can work, and is what to reflect on. Take a few moments for that as I read through the chat, and then we'll wrap things up. Okay, so Anne asked a very profound question. Isn't halacha not a demand, but rather a roadmap on how Hashem wants us to behave, Hashem being God? Root halach, meaning to move, travel, journey, walk. Therefore, halacha is our moving to become closer to Hashem. Ruth wasn't a roadmap, but rather a traveler's journey. This is how to enact law and mitzvot. So I would offer to Anne is, I think this is going to depend a little bit on denominationally what perspective we come from as it relates to the obligation and commandedness of Jewish law and how we relate to that. I would definitely agree with you that the root of halacha is exactly as you described, and that the purpose in a lot of ways of the commandments would be to walk in God's footsteps, and definitely agree with you in terms of the journeying. Something that you mentioned that I think is an interesting linguistic thing to point out, both in terms of halacha and in terms of root and journeys, is the parallels between Ruth's story and Abraham's story. And there are a few linguistic details that are very similar. Specifically, when Ruth says, wherever you walk, I will walk, has the same root of like lech lecha that Abraham does when he initiates his own journey. And you have another reference in that same verse of Ruth basically leaving her family and her country behind to be with Naomi, which in my opinion, evokes in Parshat Lech Lecha, Avram and leaving his own family and country behind before starting on his own. And I think they're both interesting parallels for thinking about, well, what does a journey of faith look like? And it happens to be, and Kabbalah is a whole different class given by somebody who is not me, but the trait that Abraham is known for above all is chesed, is kindness and loving kindness, which is again symbolized by the open tent and welcoming guests in, which is the exact trait that Ruth becomes known for as the theme of that particular scroll. And I don't think it's an accident that Avram becomes the first forefather and that Ruth becomes the mother of the ultimate Messiah of the Jewish people, and that for both, that bedrock of chesed and generosity in their own families became the bedrock, if you will, for Jewish civilization in many ways. Yeah, so to summarize, we started with Dr. Seuss Pirkei Avot. Discovered a couple of different philosophies for how society can be organized, with ultimately the most righteous being what's mine is yours and what's yours is yours, but then really delved into the depths of the more in-between category of what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine, and how that both logically makes the most sense and can be defined as average, but when taken to an extreme, could actually lead to a tremendous lack of connection and separateness and generosity, as similar to what is known as midat stom, a characteristic of stone. Again, contrast with Abraham and Lot, and how that refutes or is a repudiation on some level of the hafta l'reacha kamocha, of loving the neighbor as yourself. And what would society look like if we lived that way? And that the giving doesn't ultimately lead to sacrifice, because if everyone lived that way, then everyone would be giving to each other while still respecting appropriate boundaries. And tied that then into the holiday of Shavuot as it relates to Ruth and the specific theme of chesed as embodied in that particular Megillah. And then tied that to Avram and the chesed in his own life and some of the linguistic parallels, with the reflection being, how can I either take a commandment that I normally fulfill and infuse it with chesed, with loving kindness, and how would that shift the way I interact with that ritual on an individual level, and on a societal level, what happens when we say what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours and never the twain shall meet, and how that could both be logical but also lead to specific consequences, and how would that shift if we viewed the people that we lived with as what's mine is yours and what's yours is